And now I think it's time for us to officially open the web conference and introduce our first plenary speaker, our first plenary session presented by Maria Davou on the topic of unlocking potential, exploring play-based learning for young learners. Maria is going to delve into the transformative power of play-based learning in early childhood education, examining how structured play activities stimulate cognitive, social, and emotional development, fostering creativity and curiosity. Now, Maria is a school owner, a teacher, teacher trainer, researcher, author, and storyteller. I don't know where she finds the time for it all. She has a BA in philosophy, a Cambridge Delta, and MA in TESOL, and has studied for a PhD in applied linguistics at Lancaster University in the United Kingdom, completing her doctorate degree in Athens. She held an ESRC Research Award and has more than 30 years' experience in teaching, teacher training, and syllabus design in Greece, in the United Kingdom, and in the United States. She's a language school owner in Athens, promoting alternative and experiential models of teaching. She's an international trainer and academic consultant for publishing companies, private schools, and ministries of education. She's an adjunct professor for the Hellenic America University, where she teaches TESOL management, and for the MA in creative writing at the University of West Macedonia. She's the co-founder of Qualify, teaching Trinity Cert TESOL and Dip TESOL, and she's also the founder of the publishing house Blosso Books. So, without further ado, I'd like to pass you over to Maria.
Hello, everyone. Hope you can see my screen. I just shared it. Hello from Athens, Greece. It's a sunny, cold day here. And thank you, John, for the introduction. Today, we're going to talk about play-based learning, what it means and how we can use it in our classrooms, and why, actually, not just how, also why. So the first thing we're going to address is why should we start incorporating play in our lessons, how we can do it, what kind of materials we can use to promote play-based learning, and we're going to talk a little bit about the stakeholders and especially parents and how we can communicate to parents the fact that we're not doing the book, we're playing, but in actual fact, we're learning. Because no matter where I go around the world for my talks, the same question comes up. What about parents? What will parents say about it? So we will address this towards the end of this presentation. Before I start, huge thanks to the Young Learner SIG for this invitation, and to Laura especially. So let's go. First of all, what is play-based learning? I mean, the most natural thing that a child can do is play, right? So why do we need a framework? Why should we call it play-based learning? Because we're talking about play as a form of education in our formal education settings, in our classrooms. So although this is something very natural for children to do, to play, it's not so natural for our formal educational system to include play as a learning framework, as an educational framework. So the first thing we need to know about play-based learning is that it means active engagement. So students are not passive, they don't sit down, they don't, it's not, of course, teacher-centered at all. It's learner-centered, learner-led, and even in terms of content, learner emergent. Learners have choice and autonomy, and this is how I want to connect it with the democratic aspect in education, or in everything in life. Play-based learning is about imagination, of course, and being creative while learning. It's about solving problems, thinking critically, interacting, communicating. So what language is all about, really? So what we can learn through a play-based approach, and this is not just for language education, this is for all kinds of education. So the things we can easily learn through a play-based approach is literacy, so language, numeracy, connected to language, and social skills, language again. So basically, through a play-based approach, we can learn everything that is about language education. What we know from research is that through play, cognitive growth happens. Language development happens. Play helps with memory and recall. It helps with attention and concentration. It helps us focus better. And it also helps us with abstract thinking. So if all this is so natural and it happens so easily, and research tells us that it helps with all these skills, why is it new? Why don't we just play and learn? I mean, I don't have an answer to this question because really, I don't know why. I don't know why the educational system and educational frameworks are so rigid and why we need to convince stakeholders that playing means learning. It should be self-explanatory. It's not, though. So in play-based lessons, we use all our senses. We use our sight, and we can use it through the use of technology, of course, and through course books with videos and everything. But also there's a world out there that we need to see, we need to smell, we need to taste, we need to listen to, and we need to touch. So it's not just the videos. It's not just the stuff we bring in class to smell. It's not just, the songs and the rhymes and the tongue twisters. And it's not just the messy play tables and the jigsaw puzzles and building blocks and STEAM activities. There is also a world out there, and our learners need to interact with this world, and through this interaction, learn the second additional language. So this is an example of something that happened in our school a couple of days ago. The students made hedgehog dens. So first they went out, they gathered the materials, they found the spot to build the den. They worked together collaboratively, and here it is. And you might ask, is this play? And I think it is. They were very playful when they were building these dens. They did everything in English, of course. They learned vocabulary through asking questions like, how do we say that? What is this in English? And they interacted with each other and with the teacher in English. I mean, this is what I call structured play. So we bring materials in the classroom that help learners learn through playing, through touching, through mixing, through doing. This buzzword, experiential learning. But I'm not going to talk just about that. We talked about taste, a multisensory lesson, so you can have a baking lab in the classroom. We can teach the ingredients, verbs on how to go on with the recipe, sequence words, and of course, actually make the cookies and eat them. This is STEAM. And again, it's play-based learning. This is the DNA model made out of candies. Again, they did it a couple of days ago at our school, talking about where we come from. learning past tenses, talking about personal histories. And they talked about what DNA is, and, they made this. And of course, more STEAM. This is, again, structured play, lots of STEAM activities. You can find all these anywhere on Pinterest, basically, or anywhere on Google. More STEAM activities. See, we love outdoors, so we try to do as many things as possible outside the four walls. More STEAM. Here we talked about the universe, the solar system, the planets, the Earth. Different groups created different projects. And here we created natural dyes, and we colored our t-shirts. Now, what we just saw is play, but it's not free play. It's something that lots of teachers do in the classroom. As part of the curriculum, they enrich it with, more experiential hands-on activities like STEAM, like outdoor education or forest education activities. But I will put forward an idea here. And I have started doing this with my students this year in September. In every lesson, I have incorporated a 5 minute of play, which is completely unstructured and free. It's not a break. It's not the same thing as a break. I tell them for the next 5 minutes, you can play whatever you want. So I already use play, structured play, but I have also started using free play. And they absolutely love it. They have the freedom to do whatever they want. So some of them will sit down and might play with Legos. Others will role play, make believe. Others will just run around. Others will draw, but it's their choice what they're going to do. It's their 5 minute of their own definition of play. I have found that this helps tremendously with classroom management. Now, another form of play we can use in our lessons is, of course, role play or make believe. But my role play rules are different from what you usually find in a course book, because role plays are very scripted and play is not scripted. Play is child-led. It's not teacher-led. So when we do role plays, I just give them the situation. They have the freedom to dress up or not, to imagine the setting or not, to say whatever they want. So they have several choices. And what I do is give them the language support if they ask for it. So the moment they will say, how can I say, I will write it on the board or on a piece of paper. But it's their dialogue, their language, their voice. It's not mine. So nothing scripted. I mean, we will, of course, have some role plays that are scripted from our books, but I try to have more of those free role plays. So the rules are that basically no rules. So ideas for role plays situations, and these are things I've used and we've used in our school. The baking lab. And this can be with actual ingredients where we bake and we make cookies like I showed you in the pictures before, or make-believe baking lab. Construction site, we want to build something inside the classroom, outside the classroom, a weather station, a time machine. This they love. gardeners. Again, we can have seeds and hoes and plants, and we can become guerrilla gardeners, or it can just be make-believe. Astronauts, again, they love that. And here's an example of gardeners. Now, how we can move from this structured play to free play. And it's very simple, really. We move from materials to the world. The fewer materials we bring in class, the more unstructured, more and natural and freer it is. The more we frame it with stuff we bring, the more educational it becomes. And I have nothing against this. I mean, I've been using it and it's great, but I'm just reminding you here to add a little bit of unstructured play to your lessons, to your curriculum. I mean, even something like this, like if you have a nearby park and you can go there with your students for 10, 20 minutes as part of your lesson and let them play. And they will find immediately roles and a situation. And sometimes we don't even need to give them the context, because the context is what they make out of the world. A point I want to make here is, other than play and play, let's add playfulness throughout our lessons. And I will give you examples of that. So as much as possible, let's take our students outside the four walls. If you are in an urban setting, we're very lucky to be, at most of our schools, we have parks around us, or like the natural environment. But even in schools where the setting is urban, we can still go out there to the square, around the block, and explore the world, the real world, not the world on our tablets or on our phones. Also, the world beyond the textbook. So, I mean, here's an activity we tried with our very young learners. And another one when we were learning animals. And we made these wands. They were part of a story. So an ancient Greek story, an ancient Greek myth. And we made them. More here. Again, how can we make the transition from free play, from the unstructured play, to the educational play? Because we have to include both in our lessons. So structured play could be a literacy garden. I'll show you examples of that. Or simply, you can throw or place letters or words in a garden, and students can find them like a treasure hunt. They have to read them, then make a sentence with them. Sensory play with messy play trays or loose parts. Nature language hunts. Like a treasure hunt where you give them a worksheet with things you want them to find out there. They get points for each thing they spot. This is a vocabulary exercise. Alphabet hopscotch. This is an example of this kind of play with loose parts. Or again, this is educational play. Another thing the ones of you who know me know that I'm obsessed with storytelling in education and acting it out. My colleague and glossy books writer, Eleni Dukeku, will be talking later about drama in education, which is very close to what I'm saying here, storytelling and acting. Storytelling and retelling, a very solid, rigorous language activity. We can have a dramatic play center in our schools or in our classrooms, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, very, very simple things like a box with props or imaginary props, even reading aloud from our books and retelling with our books closed. This is from play, from unstructured play to educational play. And here are such examples using our books to play, but in educational ways. This is storytelling out there in the park. So we have the finger puppets, the stick figures from the story, but the story takes place in the actual world out there, not in the classroom, not in the book. It's not two-dimensional anymore. And a little bit on storytelling, a bit more on storytelling and how it connects with play. One thing, before starting telling a story, it's good to have a signal. And, one signal is I tell them, how many ears do you have? They say 2. So I ask them to take out their 3rd ear, because now we're going to tell a story. Another signal could be when I say crick, you say crack. So I say crick 3 times, they say crack 3 times, crick, crack, let's start the story. Or you can have a story signal, like a musical instrument or a hat or a scarf, or your storytelling apron, like something that signifies that now is the time to relax and listen to the story and play with the story. You can have your story corner, which can be inside the classroom or outside the classroom. And it doesn't have to be a specific space at your school, as long as you have, a corner where students can sit and share the story, act out the story, tell the story. When we tell a story, we have to involve the students. So ask them, do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Like, what about Little Red Riding Hood? Should she change the path in the forest or follow her mom's instructions? And do you think the grandma should open the door or not? If you think she should open the door, raise your hands. This is another storytelling corner. So they sit around, they are involved in the story. They answer questions about the story. And another question could be, we can stop the story at any point and ask, what do you think will happen next? This is another storytelling circle. They sit in a circle with their books and we tell the story. And another one. Or how do you think the story ends before giving away the actual end? For more advanced levels, if you'd been there, what would you have done? And there's this framework like what will happen next, predict, analyze. Why did Cinderella do that? Why did she want to go to the ball so much? How does, I don't know, the little pig feel or the big bad wolf feel? And what's the forest like? Like, close your eyes and imagine and draw it. Now, while telling the story, it's important that our storytelling is not like this. Once upon a time, there was a little girl whose name shouldn't be like that. We need vocal variation. Sandy did it before when she was reading this beautiful story, using movement, facial expression, gestures to bring our story to life. We can have some background music, and we can have ways to set the scene. And this is really playful, like an identity bag. You can bring a bag and have in it some objects from the story. And, you place them on your desk and you say, what do you think the story will be about? With your groups, write what you think your story is about, or act out what you think your story will be about. And then, they present, And then you read the story and we see who predicted something that is similar to the story. If you don't have time to prepare your identity bag, you can give them some keywords. For example, shovel, bed, ball of gold, ball of soil, tears, moon. Draw them. And now with your group, can you write a story that includes all these words? And you might want to guess what the story we will be telling is about. And then, of course, you read the story, this is a story my grandpa used to tell me. And I love it. And then, of course, they can retell the story using the puppets. And this is a favorite playful storytelling activity. Find the following objects, put them in a box, and bring them in class. Present them, present your objects, or a vocabulary building activity, and then retell the story using your own props from your scavenger hunt box. Visualization, close your eyes and visualize the forest, visualize the house, visualize Snow White, draw her, change the genre, super playful. So for example, instead of Rapunzel, you can have Bropunzel. Change the genre. Sorry. I'm going to talk about it in a minute more extensively. Mind map the story, and you can ask them to mind map the character or mind map the plot of the story. A very young learner here, mind map the plot of a story. You can ask them to write a journal as if they are a character in the story. So you are the wolf. For a week, write what's been happening to you. You can ask them to write a letter to a character in the story and even challenge them about their decision. Like Cinderella, why are you so obsessed with getting married? This is what I wanted to tell you about gender change. Instead of Rapunzel, Rapunzel, or change, the evil becomes the good one, like the three little wolves and the big bad pig. You can change the genre, turn the story into a poem, turn the story into a dialogue, or bring your storybox. This is a great activity for the beginning of the school year. Like after a month or so, to get to know each other better, you can ask them to bring a box and put inside it objects that tell their personal story and present them. I mean, think about all the language work involved here in terms of vocabulary, structures, discourse, everything, pronunciation, and it's just, me sharing about myself using props that I chose. And back to play, which is not educational in the traditional sense of the word. We can create open-ended art corners in our classroom. And in many ways, I mean, we teach language, of course, and we need to be incorporating language tasks in whatever we do. But if we tell them, just draw something that comes to mind when listening to this music and then present it, this is what I was explaining before from play to play. So the one is open-ended and free, but then presented is the educational outcome, the learning outcome. Music and movement, but not in the traditional TPR form, do this, jump, but free movement, dancing, creating imaginative play spaces. So without any materials, plus it's very affordable. Everything is make-believe. Design challenges. So in groups, design this and let's see, present it and let's see what works better, what we like better. Building with loose parts and inventing games. Ask them to create their own games and tell them, we will spend 5-10 minutes in the next lessons for this month. And each time we will be playing a game that each group has invented. So it's their game, it's their play, it's their choice, it's their voice. Another thing I do with my students is what we call silent play. So I told you before that I give them 5 minutes of free play, but sometimes I tell them just silent play. They can do whatever they want, but they can stretch. Sometimes they want to take an English nap. So for 5 minutes, they just pretend they sleep. And why do they call it an English nap? Because they nap, they don't really nap, but they pretend they nap in their English class. And just, move around and do things. Just be happy. Just, take a break, relax, or expend energy. So when you design your lesson plans, and I think we need to design lesson plans not in the traditional teacher training course way, but as narratives. Our lesson plans should be stories with open endings at different stages of the lesson plan, because a playful mindset means that the teacher is willing to give power to the learners to change the lesson during the lesson. So I suggest when we design this lesson plan narrative, we start with free play. Then we do our educational play activities, and we end with free play again. Things like this, think about it. When you ask them to create riddles and present them, it's during the design stage, it's play. When they present them, it's educational play. Now, as I said at the beginning, one thing we need to address is stakeholders. So you might find out that parents will resist. And they will resist in several ways. One of them being, you didn't cover everything from the book. Why haven't you done exercise B on page 32? And I want my child to learn English. I don't want them to play. They can play at home. Well, okay, so how can we address that? We need to teach parents. We need to train parents to understand what we're doing. So we need to explain it to them before doing it. We need to tell them that when we play, the whole self is involved. And we need to explain to them what skills their child will develop through play-based education. And we need to tell them that these skills are so important for the world out there, and that when their children grow up, they will be way more successful because they played more. And we can give them actual facts from research and from neuroscience on how play makes us better thinkers, how it helps us negotiate better, how it promotes interdisciplinary thinking and flexible thinking and problem-solving skills, and how we become more agile learners, and how we are able to embrace ambiguity, because there's a lot of make-believe in playful education and play-based education. But again, this might not be enough. They might say, yeah, but my child can do that at home. So the difference is that the child does this in the new language. And by interacting playfully in English, the child will develop linguistically faster and more happily. And above all, they will use English to do the things they love. They will not use English for the things the teacher loves. They will not use the teacher's voice, they will use their own voice. So a little bit of how to, again, how to actually create a curriculum of play-based education or learning. Choose the word. I know they're different. Sometimes I use them interchangeably. I prefer the word education to learning, though. So first of all, when we start designing our curriculum, our syllabus for the year, or even a new unit in our book, start thinking of playful activities that align with our curriculum. And then use play as a situation context. You might find that your book, your course book, your supplementary books already include some games, usually some gamified tasks, I would say. This is not the same, of course. I mean, I know we can all play Kahoot and Quizlet and quizzes and this and that. And this is great and it's fun, but it's not play. This is gamified education with rewards that make you want to do more. Play is freer, it's more natural, and you're not glued on a screen. Another great thing to do is integrate assessment tasks that are play-based or playful. So when you give your progress test, your unit test, add a task that is playful. Even something, you can start with very simple things like, you are not you, you are your dog. Answer these 3 questions as if you are a dog. Or at the end of the test, as part of the test, close your eyes, dream for 3 minutes in English, open your eyes, write what you saw. So have some playful tasks within your assessment process. Combine play with reflection. So at the end of the unit, at the end of a cycle of learning, ask students to do these metacognitive tasks, these reflective tasks in playful ways. Integrate educational technology. I have nothing against it. I mean, I'm a tech freak. I love technology. I love gadgets. I always use technology in my classes, but word of caution, we need to alternate technology with zero technology and with even zero classroom, going out there. One thing that happens in our classrooms more and more is that students, lessons are screen fronted. Everybody does not even look at the teacher. Everybody looks at the screen. So, you know, we moved from interactive whiteboard software. Now we have touch screens and everything. And what I did in my classes last year and this year is I asked students to turn their backs to the wall that has the screen on. So we look the other side, we face the other side, and we go out a lot, as you saw. We sit in circles a lot, as you saw. Sometimes we will watch the screen. I'll play video, we'll play an educational technology game. I will do some presentation of some points, but then I will switch off the projector and I will ask them to stop looking at this part of the classroom. Screens are everywhere. And yes, visual literacy is something we need to promote as well, but we also need to promote, you know, talking to each other and touching real books and, you know, smelling the books and going out there and touching dirt and a flower and smelling it and a tree and hugging it. So extend play beyond the classroom. And in fact, extend the learning process outside the classroom. So something like that, ideally. Now, research indicates that play-based learning in early childhood has long-term positive effects on academic achievement, creativity, problem-solving skills, and social competence. And I will say it also makes learners more autonomous because it involves, play involves a lot of negotiation, decision-making, taking roles, assigning roles, reassigning roles. It's also the best way to show our learners the model of a better world. Because play is fair, there is justice, there are rules that we need to follow, but we make them. And we have a say on what is going to happen. So this is why I think this activity I mentioned before, where we say, invent your own game, is very helpful. It's also, play-based learning is an inclusive environment where all children have something to give, to offer, to contribute. Children of diverse backgrounds and abilities and learning styles, if they exist, I don't know. Everybody can participate and thrive. When we play, the strong and the weak change, because it depends on the play we're going to play. So the good student is not always the same. Now, I will repeat this again. It's not just about, organizing play tasks in the curriculum or letting students play freely. It's above all about adopting a playful teaching mindset. But we have to be playful first. And I'll show you two very brief videos with very, very simple tasks. So this, at the beginning of the lesson, first of all, I always draw our lesson village. So I'm very bad at drawing, as you can see. So the lesson village is all the things we're going to do throughout our lesson, the stops, and I trace the path as we go along. Very simple, just for them to have an idea on how the lesson breaks down. The first thing we do when they enter the classroom is I ask them the very simple question, how are you feeling today? Like a mood meter, right? So I ask them every time they're at the beginning of the lesson, and I draw, happy faces, sad faces, so and so on. And because they like it so much, I mean, I'll play something after we do this singing of our moods. I ask them why they feel this way. 2, 3. Super happy, super happy, 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 so happy, super happy, 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 so happy, happy, happy. 2, right? Very simple, nothing. They absolutely love it because this song changes for every lesson because they have a different mood. So every time they will sing their different mood song. And, parents tell me that at home, they do the same thing. Some of my students, they ask the family, how are you feeling today? And they sing the song. Now, in our lesson village, I told them that one of our stops was a book exercise. And they thought that we were going to do an exercise from the book. So guys, we're going to do book exercise. So book exercise is done without opening the book. So move your book here, here, above your head. Move it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Here, next to your ear, in front of your face. This is what I mean playful teaching mindset. Like they thought we were going to do an exercise from the book, and we just did exercising with the book. And so to wrap it up and then get your questions, today we saw the benefits of play-based education, how we can apply it, how we can enjoy it, and how we can communicate it to stakeholders. And before we end and I take your questions, I want to tell you a story because as I said, I'm a storyteller and this is my favorite way of teaching. And I think storytelling should be the main methodology in education for all levels and all ages. And I think it's a very play-based approach, storytelling. So, and this is a true story. When my son was 2 years old, he got a present. His birthday is a bit before Christmas. So a big box came. It came from the north of Greece, a relatively wealthy, sent him a very flashy Jeep, which is electric, and he could drive it. He could actually drive it. It looked like an actual car, but smaller. So, you know, it was very expensive back then, and very few people had one. And, you know, we were all kind of jealous. I remember my two brothers, you know, they were almost angry at my son for getting such a fantastic present at the age of 2. We never had the opportunity of getting something as flashy and expensive. And, you know, we were all sitting stunned at the red Jeep. And we realized that my son was not there. We were just admiring the beautiful red Jeep, but he was not with us to play with it, to drive it. And we didn't know where he was, so we got a little bit worried and we started looking around, and then we found him inside the big carton box. For the next 2 months, he never played with a Jeep. He was in the box. He pretended the box was a car. He pretended the box was a house. He pretended the box was a rocket. He just played with a plain box. And this lesson for life stayed with me forever. My son is now 30 years old. Because sometimes in education, we spend too much money on flashy things, and we forget about the power of imagination and creativity when it comes to children. Thank you very much. And now I can take your questions.
Maria, can you see the questions in the Q&A, or would you like me to read them out to you?
I can see them. If there's here somebody who helped teachers like me, I'm not sure I understand the first question. Laura, I don't know if you want to help.
Yeah, I think that person's looking for maybe additional training or development, if there's any courses or resources you could recommend.
I mean, I would look around conferences like IATEFL and groups like this one for anything on play-based education. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of IATEFL focus on play in Brighton this year, and storytelling as well. Now, the second question is, how do we encourage the children to use English during structured and unstructured play? You know, I move around, I monitor a lot. I have created already an English-speaking environment in my classroom. They might switch to their first language from time to time, which is okay, because they don't know all the English in the world. And, you know, this translanguaging, this going back and forth from English to mother tongue and back to English is perfectly okay. And anyway, then whatever they do, we will explore it together in English. So there is benefit anyway. Out of control, I mean, they're not out of control. And I mean, what I've seen is that sometimes the worst thing they might do is run. But you can give them some, 2 rules. Whatever you do in this 5-minute unstructured play, you need to be safe, or you have to be silent. You can give them 1 rule. It's silent play. Or you cannot touch anybody. I mean, play has rules. When children play, it's full of rules. Think about the big businesses, the big industries nowadays. They're play-based. Think of football. Think of sports. No play is not equivalent to gamification. In many ways, they're opposite. Gamification is a very behaviorist concept, I think, where you get rewards, and that's why you want to go on. Play has no such rewards. It's freer, it's more spontaneous, and more natural, as I kept mentioning. Again, this is about the use of English. Yes, play is the reward. Exactly. I agree, Laura. It helps with classroom management. I'll tell you why. Yes, play helps with classroom management. There is a point that our learners will definitely feel bored, and they will definitely want to expend energy. They will want to, they start getting fidgety. They throw their pencil on the floor, and it takes them 5 minutes to find it. This is the point where you need to say 5 minutes play, because in this way we control their energy and we let them, take it off and become more kinesthetic, and then we can go back to our tasks. Age range, I would say from whatever age they start until young teenagers. How can we persuade to allow play-based learning? I mean, I'm lucky enough to have my own school. I think, reading and presenting research findings on how play-based education helps will help with both school administrators and parents. Well, there are these learners who resist creativity. It's true. Thank you for this, Adrian. And you just need to give them time. It's a very, very sad reality. Also, we do a lot of creative writing in our school, and I've noticed that sometimes students cannot write creatively because we've killed it already. We've killed their creativity. But it takes time. They need to remember who they are and find their child self again. And it's very sad to say that, but it's true. The more freedom we give them, the more creativity we let them have, it will happen. I don't think there are any more questions. I think I answered them all.
Can I be really cheeky and ask you a question, Maria?
Yes.
I'm shamelessly abusing my moderator privilege. But you said one thing that I thought was really interesting, because you talked about the different terms, learning and education, and you had a preference. And I wondered if you could expand on that a little bit. It's probably a little bit of a philosophical question, but I was very interested. I was intrigued.
Yeah, philosophical and ideological in a way. I think learning is more consumerism based. We assume there is a person who consumes what we give them. Whereas education, for me, is a bigger and more sacred term, and it involves everything and anything. And it's not just about language, it's about values, it's about politics, it's about ideologies, it's about philosophy. And in our classrooms, we replicate a model of society. And I think the vision and the ultimate goal of every educator, and not teacher for that matter, should be for our learners to be emancipated and struggle, fight for a better world out there. So I would go for education that encompasses everything, and not just learning. That means I sit down and learn from someone who serves me the knowledge.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much,
Thank you.
Maria. I cannot tell you how positive and fantastic the comments in the chat have been. It really, you know, it's been called amazing, inspirational, you know, motivational, insightful. People are really, really positive. There's comments about how people have loved seeing your school context. I think pretty much everybody in the chat wants to steal the storybook exercise or the book exercise, including me. I will be doing that in the very next class I teach. I can absolutely guarantee it. So it's always lovely to take away a little practical idea like that. And generally, yeah, I think there's a consensus that more resources and support on this is needed. So maybe next year one of our mini courses might have this as a topic. People definitely seem to like that idea. I've had the privilege of hearing you speak live. You are just as engaging and entertaining online. So thank you so much for donating your time to come and share with the teachers here today. Thank you for your support of the conference and of the SIG. We look forward to future collaborations with you, but thank you again from everybody. All right, everyone, we're going to take a sort of 5 or so minute break before our next speaker. So please don't disconnect, stay connected to us, but do take this 5 minutes to nip to the loo, make a cup of tea, grab a snack, whatever you need to do. And coming up is the next speaker will be Gerhard Erasmus, and he'll be talking about working with refugees. So that's going to be fabulous. Do not miss it. Stay connected, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes' time. Thank you.